Hello, and welcome to episode 206 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa, and I'm joined by Matthew, who doesn't forget the podcast numbers.
No, that's a lie. Okay, I want to just come out and say in your defense, when every Saturday or Sunday when we record this episode, and I make a folder to dump the video footage or whatever files I'm working with, 9 out of 10 times I'll go check, like, hang on, what is last week's episode? So don't worry, you're not alone there.
You know what it means? It just means that I've not made a folder for this episode yet. That's why it's not in my head. And that's
so then
maybe a problem, maybe not a problem.
Intro,
maybe one day.
then I'll start talking, like, shit, let me just make a folder quickly. I was busy speaking.
Yeah, I literally just did that.
Nice.
I literally just made a folder. But that's why that small pause is like I go and click File Explorer, and I usually have the most recent one open on the site, so I know to just add one to that. So
I should just throw
it's always
you
on hand. It's always
like
on
under
hand.
the bus. No, it's episode 208. Come on, and we just missed an episode.
Just fuck with me. I'd be like, oh, my bad. Yeah.
My bad. Yeah.
Okay,
then
cool.
I'll skip every second episode. Then before you know it, we're on 250. We're celebrating 20 episodes.
We
too
actually
early.
only record on even numbers. We don't record on odd.
We have a few of
We're
odd numbers. This
superstitious
is an
like that,
even
yeah.
number only podcast from now.
And
Just
yeah,
stop it.
exactly. Then we'll get to 1,000 so quickly. I mean,
Oh my
it'll only
God.
take 500 episodes.
And then YouTube were like, wow, amazing. Look at these people. 1,000 episodes, so dedicated, but only
The
300
algorithm will look
videos. How
favorably
weird.
on us. How
So
does that
strange,
work?
so
Math.
strange.
It's okay. Yeah, man, it's okay. Maybe they deleted some episodes.
Oh my
It's
goodness,
okay.
bizarre. Yeah. But
Yeah.
206.
It's weird to be back here again because, well, not weird, but like we did a recording on, was it Wednesday?
Wednesday, yeah.
evening.
Mm.
Yeah, Wednesday evening for God of War
Boy, a teenager of
Ragnarok.
war.
Do you know that game's name doesn't have a colon?
Yes.
I only
Praise
found
be.
out today. Or not today, but like this week when the reviews are going out. I was like,
yeah.
oh, there's no colon in the name. I put a
Bless-
colon in the description for it, so
Oh, I didn't
my
even
bad.
see that. Bless Sony Santa
bad.
Monica for not putting the colon. Moment
It's
a
just
game has a
God of
colon,
War
I
Ragnarok.
just lose all
Well,
respect.
it's the same as Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Everyone thought Horizon was the name and then Zero Dawn was the subtitle.
So bless, is this a
That's not
Sony
true.
strategy? Just bless Sony. We're deleting colons since the Horizon Forbidden West.
Whereas we get other games that have a colon and a dash.
A dash. Can I just say, having to do a YouTube headline with a colon and a dash in the name is the worst thing. Because normally you would say
Absolute worst.
game name review dash and then a witty strapline, whatever. But when it's game name colon more game name dash more descriptor,
More
I-
game
I-
name dash.
I don't know where to
Parentheses,
put the dash
gold
here.
edition.
It makes my life hell. Okay, don't do that, Dave. Stop it. Is it a Michael Jordan meme or GIF where it's like, stop it right now?
Oh yes, that's a Michael
is,
Jordan.
yeah.
Whenever I think of Michael Jordan memes, I just think of that stupid spoof Nike ad where he's like, fuck them kids.
What?
It's just him looking like very serious. It's just
Oh,
like, fuck them
goodness.
kids.
It's him
Good
saying,
old
fuck
Glenn
them
loves using
colons.
that. He loves using that one frequently. It's really funny.
It's too good.
Enjoy it.
Good
Enjoy
job.
it.
So no colons on Ragnarok.
Yeah, no colons on Checkpoint Chat either.
We should do that. Check colon point dash chats.
I mean, you just exposed our email address password, but
Oh no! Exclamation mark.
yeah, check exclamation mark at chat point Sandy Harry.
I have a question. Oh my God, you just did give away our password now. I have a question on parents and passwords. Do your parents ever turn to you and ask for a password of theirs? Are you the great
No,
password
thank
keeper?
God.
Yes.
My parents do not. Shani's parents always.
My mom, bless her, in Madeira at the moment, is having a lovely holiday. Messages
Oh,
me.
lovely.
Messages me saying, "Is this the password for this thing?" I'm like,
How would I know?
I don't know, except I do know because I've written it down because this has happened many times. So I was like, yes, that is your password. You should remember it. I don't want to be the
Password
great
managers
password keeper.
exist. Password managers are free. They exist. They're useful.
Don't know.
I use one. I would never remember all of my passwords, like if I didn't use a password manager, especially with like so many websites that have so many weird permutations. Like, oh, you need these characters. Oh, you can't have these one after the other. Oh, this. So basically, it's like, well, okay, I can't use the one that I use kind of everywhere else, which is bad practice anyway. But like, everyone fucking does it.
For simplicity's sake, it's the best thing.
Of course. Of course.
My worst is like, I have maybe 3 to 5 passwords, which are just variations of each other in some or other way. And I hate it that I have to have them written down because I can never remember which bloody variation applies to which site. So I'm like, I think it's this. Oh, damn it, it's not that. Second attempt. Oh, it's not that one. Damn it, let me just look it up. Oh, it's this one. Why am I like this? Yeah. But yeah, so it's just hilarious because my mom is not tech savvy, so she relies on her kids a lot for IT support. But I think she turns to me whenever it comes to password requirements. And it's just hilarious. I'm like, just remember this. My mom literally has one password, and I know this because we had to like redo a lot of her passwords, and we chose something like, you will never forget this. Here's a clue to how to remember it.
The first problem you had there was assuming she would not forget this.
Yeah, it's like, is it this? I'm like, yeah, you're right, but why are you asking me? Like, come on.
Does she ask your other siblings for the passwords?
No, I think I'm the great password keeper. My brother has the honors of being the tax support, finance support.
Oh, God. Okay, I'd rather be password keeper.
My brother does 100%. All of that stuff. So bless him, because I don't want that responsibility. I don't know what she turns to my sister for. I'm sure my sister has some responsibility. No, so
must
we've got password, we've got tax.
She's spreading out the responsibilities.
She is equally.
You'd hope so. Maybe she asks your sister for the password too, just to make sure you're not fucking with her.
Like, your brother says it's this, but let me just make sure. Is it this?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good.
Is my one son actually betraying me?
He gets to stay in the will.
He didn't lie this time.
This time. Yeah, parents are hilarious. I do wonder if when we are in our 60s, 70s, or however long we live when we get to that age, because, you know, the cyberpunk future we've dreamt of is close, if we will be as IT
I think so.
Not savvy.
I definitely think so.
I think so too.
I'm already at the point where I just feel like I don't understand a lot of social media. Like, my idea of what social media is super not what social media is for younger people.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point where I'm like, well, I'm not going to change, you know. So that feels like my old man putting my flag in the ground. Like, yeah,
it is.
I will stay on Twitter. Fuck TikTok.
Sometimes Lenska says some stuff as well. I can't believe people do this. And I turn to her and I say, that is the oldest person thing you've ever said. Welcome. You've made it. But yeah, I think...
Is she right next to you, giving you glaring stares?
No, she's not. I
just saw that glance.
No, because the cat just sprinted in for God knows what reason. No, but that is definitely a thing of social trends and social media. There are some catchphrases or things that pop up. I'm like, where did that even come from? I didn't know about that. And that's my old person thing. But in terms of tech, I hope I do stay in touch. I don't want to turn to...
I think, I mean, there's certain things we won't stay in touch with, but I think us, especially because of the way we interact with technology on a day-to-day basis, we will stay pretty abreast of most things, I think. You know, we'll always at least I feel like we will always understand the new smartphone or the new iPad or new PC technology or whatever.
In 4 decades, when gaming is completely different, we'll tell our kids or nieces or nephews or whoever, like, in my day, we used to play God of War Ragnarök. What a game. Game.
I mean, we're kind of already starting that. It's like, how many kids just play games on their phones?
Yeah.
How many kids only play Fortnite? You know what I mean?
But then your grandkids turn to you like, but Grandpa, God of War Ragnarök is so ugly looking. I'm like, what?
I mean,
I
not
can't
wrong.
even look at it. It's so pixelated. I'm like, what? What do games look like today that looks ugly?
Huh?
You never know. You don't know what the future of gaming looks like. But you're right. It's
God.
probably a mobile / VR. It's the
I
Ready
think
Player
so,
One
yeah.
universe.
Yeah,
isn't it?
the Ready Player One. I mean, people like to talk shit about metaverses, but like Fortnite is a metaverse. Like it is a very successful one at that. And I think we're going to see stuff. Like I don't think we'll see stuff to the point. You know, sort of how like Facebook is envisioning it right now. Like that just seems not what anyone wants.
Yeah.
But like Epic Games has figured it out. Like a metaverse is just like all of these properties in one place, and everyone is kind of consuming all sorts of media in one place.
Yeah.
And that's what it is, and that's what Fortnite is. So,
just add in some VR goggles in Fortnite, and there you go. Like the optimal.
I mean, doesn't even need it. It's
no,
just,
it doesn't. But if you really want to cut off from reality, there you go. The game exists.
I mean, as soon as I could watch Dragon Ball Z in Fortnite,
you knew.
Done.
You just knew.
Done. They'd hooked me. They'd got me. I was done.
Well, there you go. So, yeah.
Let's Checkpoint Chat. Talk about video games and video game metaverses. Not often, but not really
sometimes.
At all. Sometimes, you know. It's been a busy week. As we said earlier, we met up on Wednesday to have a discussion on God of War Ragnarok.
God of Boy. God of Teenager.
Basically just a whole review for that, because Matty is basically, well, he is now done with it. He was basically an hour away from being done with it when we recorded.
I was.
I'm
Funnily enough.
I thought I was 10 hours in. I apparently am not even that many times in. But I don't think there's much else. There actually isn't much else we can say. Even though the embargo's dropped, there's a lot of rules regarding certain things we can talk about before the game is actually out. So there's really no reason for us to just rehash what we had said in the review earlier this week. And there's nothing we can add to it really just yet. So because of that, and because the review wasn't put out on a podcast, we're kind of just going to cut the portion of that review and plonk it here in this podcast. It's called A Reuse of Assets.
Very tactfully.
Very, very, it's tax-free. We save money. It's a great time.
Yeah.
But really, it's just, we know a lot of people don't engage with the video content, which is absolutely fine. But we also just don't want to have another 30-minute discussion that is kind of like
The same
identical
thing.
and probably worse, because we're not going to be like as enthused about the game as we were on Wednesday. So this is our God of War review recorded on Wednesday just for audio. And once that's done, because it's a good
30 minutes,
chunk,
yeah.
I think it's
Goodbye.
quite
See you in
hefty.
30 minutes.
Yeah, goodbye. We'll see you in 30 minutes, and then we'll be back with regularly recorded podcast
Programming.
content. Yeah. Okay, enjoy.
Bye.
This is the much anticipated sequel to the God of War reboot from 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it's been 4 years. It feels like it's been 4 years in game for some of these characters. Some are older, some are older. And things are much colder in Midgard.
We've got Fimble Winter happening.
Matt, so we've both been playing this. I've not played nearly as much as good old Matthew there.
So I'll come out the gate and say that I've put in about plus minus 40 hours into this game.
That is a lot of hours. That's more than the first game. That's way more than I remember the first game.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours. And I will also add that I have not rolled credits. I think I'm very close to the end. In terms of story beats, it feels like if I'm not in the final act, I'm definitely on my way to the final act. But I feel that 40 hours has given me sufficient time to talk about this game and my feelings on it.
Definitely say so.
So
yes.
any commentary or or vibes I give don't take the ending into account. I have no idea how this game ends. But
it could be an absolutely awful ending and completely 180s torpedoes your opinions on this game.
Look, I don't think that'll happen, but yeah, in the event that the ending is an absolute dumpster fire, please do not hold me accountable, because everything in those first 40 hours thus far have been really good, I'd say.
Yeah, so I kind of want to get your opinion on, well, firstly, what sort of sequel this is. And just, with it being so long, if it manages to maintain the sort of momentum from start to finish.
So I think what's interesting when we spoke during our preview, the one thing that came across to me is that when this game is coming out, we both felt like, yeah, like we're keen for more God of War, but how will they set this game apart from the original, And it's funny because as gamers, you sort of have a bar and then you put the bar higher, when there's a sequel. You just expect it to be bigger and better. And going to this game, it feels like my immediate thought was like, it's still God of War, but that's not a bad thing. Like, there's a reason 2018's God of War was Game of the Year for a lot of people, I think us included. One of the best games I've ever played, and it's still pretty much God of War, at least, in the opening hours. Yeah, it's just well polished. The combat is fun. And in terms of sequel, it feels like it just does things bigger and better. If that's, probably the easiest way I can describe it. But I suppose, yeah, out the gate, you get given, it's weird, you kind of get given a lot of the tools you finished the original game with. Namely, in the early hours of the game, you get the Chaos Blades. Spoiler if you haven't played the original game. And it kind of...
Yeah, listen, if you haven't played the original, that all bets off. Yeah,
close the pot. Look, to be clear, we're going to avoid all spoilers for this game, but if if you haven't played the original, I would advise you do so because it's damn good, but also we aren't going to hold back because the sequel obviously follows events that happened in that first game. But you're right out the gate, they do have to fast track you into learning how combat works because they assume you have played the original game, and it feels like it's a bit fast initially. Like there's a lot of information to take in. To the point where I think when we both spoke during the preview, it's like, yeah, it feels like we're very rusty with the combat. But getting into the game, it's that muscle memory comes back and it feels good. Like one thing we all loved about God of War was how sort of meaty the action felt. And that's definitely here with, I think, one of the more obvious additions or improvements is that there's a much bigger enemy variety as well, which you see pretty early in the game. I mean, even if you're watching the footage now, those raiders were definitely not in the first game, at least not that I can recall. But
you still face those the atypical like draugrs.
Yeah,
but I think I only saw those like 10 hours in.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, I don't know, what have, I know you haven't played as much, but what have your thoughts been on the opening hours of the game?
Very much. So I think out of the gate, the thing that stood out to me was just how good the performances are again. I think the actors for Kratos are Christopher Judge and Atreus. I don't actually know the actor's name. I think they're both very, very good. And I think there's just some of the best like voice work and just animation, motion capture acting that you can find in a game. And that's sort of what's been keeping me hooked because, like you said, the beginning's very familiar. The combat is very familiar. And I think for especially the first couple of hours, the combat's not that exciting. And I think that is exactly what I felt when I played the original as well. I distinctly remember when I played 2018's one, like a good 6 hours in, I was like, this game it feels weird. It doesn't feel like it's all the way there. And then it gets all the way there because it kind of starts opening up and, starts giving you more mechanics to play around with. And I feel like I'm at a point now in the game, I'm around 10 hours in, and I feel like I'm at that point now where I'm like getting a lot of things and unlocking a lot of abilities for the combat that make it feel more dynamic. There's a lot of cool environmental puzzles now. and I have a bit more freedom to kind of pick and choose where I go.
Yeah.
Similar to the previous game, you are going to be traveling between realms, but in this one, you have access to all 9,
Yeah.
and you can kind of bounce between them at will. Well, as you unlock them. But yes.
And on that front, I think that's one of the compliments I can give this game is that the first one definitely took you to places, like a couple of realms, but not in a bad way, but it felt like they were kind of empty, if that makes sense. You know, it's like,
yes,
okay, we're in Midgard, and it's really just, it's Kratos and Atreus and all these other enemies, and, you know, a couple of side characters, you know, the good dwarves, Freya, etc. Whereas this game, you travel between realms, and a couple of them feel like, well, it still feels, you know, not quite on a grand scale of, you know, this isn't Cyberpunk. You're not walking into a dense city with, you know, X amount of NPCs, but it feels like,
definitely not.
No, but the worlds feel more lived in.
Yes,
if that makes sense. Like, it feels like even these raiders, I'm like, oh, you know, in the first game, I don't recall seeing many other humans. Now it's like, oh, these are actual raider people living in Midgard, like trying to survive Thimbleweeds. And it sounds like such a silly thing to point out, but it feels like the world's a little bit more alive as a result of that.
Yeah, it feels more realized, I think. Just like you can kind of tell where people have their place, and one of the first places the first place you visit after Midgard in the opening is the Dwarven realm. I cannot pronounce it. It's a name for sure. It surely is a name. But that place is so different. It's like sunny and warm, and you get to take your boat out and visit different islands at will, and each of those islands has something to kind of like pick apart and explore, and you get this whole like dwarven village which feels super detailed and really, like you said, lived in, and you get a lot of backstory on like how the dwarves fit into this realm, and how Odin has touched them, and how Mimir has touched them, and you know, but it just feels way more realized and dense in that sense, which is really cool.
Yeah, even just to pick up on that, you mentioned Mimir and some of the side characters. It feels like they were definitely present in the first game, obviously, but it feels that their backstories were not lacking, but maybe not as fleshed out. Whereas the writing in this game and the side quest feel, I mean, first game again had really good side quests, but in this game in particular, it feels really good to dig into the backstories of a lot of these characters. Like in that dwarf realm you mentioned, like, oh yeah, Mimir's done stuff here. And doing some side quests, it's like, oh yeah, he had this impact, and you get a little bit more detail into his character or what he used to be like before he was just a floating head, you know, well, not a floating head, you know what I mean? But yeah, the writing on that front is just so good. It's been really cool to play through a lot of the side content and just learn more about these characters. You know, not just Mimir, there's a whole cast of people to learn about. And even again, like on that front, I think a theme for the sequel, which you'd expect, is that things are bigger and better. There's definitely more places to visit. There are more characters you'll meet who you didn't in the first game. You know, spoiler, you do know that Thor is present here. You heard about him in the first game, but he's here. You actually get to, you know, see who he is, that sort of thing. And he's not the
only
one.
happens in the first half an hour of this game. My God.
And he's not the only character. There are tons of new characters you meet, and they all feel very well realized. Whether it be through the voice actors or the story or the side quests or even just codec entries, it feels like this world has only gotten bigger. Which is quite something, because one of my, not concerns, I guess, but something that was at the back of my mind of like, the first one did a pretty good job with Mimir telling stories. You know, now how do you keep that level of storytelling in a sequel when, you know, you'd imagine they've told a lot in the first game, but they do. Like, I think Norse mythology as a whole is so dense that they've just dug in and had fun, like putting their own spin. Or even like, I think you mentioned before we started recording, it feels like a lot of this Norse mythology has actually been kept somewhat close to the source material, like within reason, of course, but kept close to the source material.
Yeah, much more than any sort of Norse knowledge you would have gleaned from like Marvel or something like that.
What? Odin's not. Thor's not chiseled. I mean, come on.
No,
what's going on here?
I almost feel like, I mean, maybe you have a different perspective on this, having played a lot more of the story. But where I am right now, this almost doesn't feel like a Kratos story. It feels like Kratos had his story. Kratos' story was the previous game where he was dealing with the loss of his wife and the realization that, he now needed to be the father that Atreus needed. And it almost feels like that story's done. And this is more of this is like Atreus' story now. And Kratos is just there to kind of guide it.
Well, it's yes and no, because I completely agree with you. In the first game, I mean, obviously Atreus and other characters are present, but it's Kratos' story. It is that they're walking towards, the world's tallest peak to scatter his late wife's ashes, and all the stuff that happened in between. And him, dives into him being this old god who's done some really bad shit, trying to be a good father.
And like coming to terms with that.
Yeah, and coming to terms with it. Whereas you're right, this game, Atreus, I don't know how much time has passed, but Atreus is definitely a lot older. He's like a teen. And he's a lot more, you're right. It's definitely a lot more about his story. But I feel it's not to say Kratos isn't important or any of the other characters. But
not at all. Yeah.
It does feel like Atreus does take more center stage here. A lot of the story beats, what's happening is because, you're trying to figure out where Atreus fits into this whole Ragnarok spiel. What is going to happen. But I think...
Which at the end of the day, you started, you know what I mean? The killing of Balder is what triggered this whole thing.
Spoiler, killing Balder at the end of the last game is, the stage for, oh God, this world-ending event
the big
is
coming.
We know, again, spoiler, that Atreus is being foretold as Loki, and he has some other events, or not events, some other role in this event. And the story is them setting on this journey to figure out, well, what is it? And you're right, like Atreus is the one pushing the rest of the cast, going like, hey, I want to figure out what my role is. Can we not just sit around and do nothing? Where Kratos' role is, no, I'm your father and I'll be very protective. Very much like the first game.
That's exactly it. He's protective, but in a way that he doesn't want to confront anyone. He kind of just wants to shy away from, he just kind of wants to keep everyone safe without pissing anyone off type of thing.
But it is nice to see that, obviously, it's funny how a lot of the stuff feels so close to real life. Like it is a proper father-son relationship where the parent is being super protective and the child is like, hey man, I just want some freedom. Like, could I live?
Pushing some boundaries.
Pushing some boundaries. Can you just trust me? That sort of thing. But it's very cool to see how Atreus specifically has grown. He's not this little kid anymore. He's very capable, has his own stronger opinions. And I think he's at that age now where, in the first game, he's a kid. You're not going to talk back to your father, really, because good Lord, it's Kratos. You want to piss him off. Whereas this game, Atreus is like, listen, like I've got some opinions and I want to follow them through. And it's cool to see that dynamic and how they bounce off each other and deal with the consequences. Like I think one thing that's carried this game through, like you can say what you want about the combat, whether you happy with the same or not, but I've been enthralled just playing through the story, dying to see what actually happens, and peppered in with a lot of the side stuff, which it's not necessary. Like you could 100% just play this game through the main quest, but the writing is so good. You feel like, I feel like, how can you not do some of these side quests? How can you not learn about some of these other characters that are here with Kratos and Atreus on this journey? So it's an interesting sequel, and I think it will be divisive. In some critics will say like it's more of the same and on a bigger scale. And I can't believe not to say that no innovation's taken place, but you get what I mean. The foundations here,
Yeah.
it's pretty much the same sort of game as the original on that front. It's not like
it's very iterative in terms of
Yes.
mechanical design.
It's
I
not
do
like-
think it is a big step forward in terms of world design.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh, I can't believe they've included this city management game here. Wow, what a groundbreaking addition for this franchise. Like as a dumb example. So you will get those critics who be like, oh, it's the same game. Not that it's a bad thing, but then I think I'm in the camp of it's more God of War, but that's not a bad thing because I loved the hell out of the original. Like I really did. I platinumed it. It's still one of my favorite games of all time. What a great story. And to see more of those characters and, see where the story goes, like, yeah, I'm there for it.
Do you get the sense, because I've had this, even in just my short 10 hours, I've had one or two moments of like, this part could have been shorter type of thing.
Are you talking about
for example, at the sort of end of the Dwarven realm, you go into a mine and you're there like trying to find someone. And the time between arriving at the mine and actually finding said person is, I think, quite long. And I'm just like, this could maybe have used some, like editing. You know what I mean? Being like, we can tighten this up.
Yeah, so
to speak.
So
I want to know, given that you've played 40 hours and not finished it, if you feel there are like spots similar to that throughout or not.
So it's difficult to say because, like I've said, I've chosen to do a lot of side stuff. So, like, giving you a sense of, this part feels very long. Like, I actually do hear you. And I actually have had times where it does feel like some story beats. It's like, oh, we need this wang jangle. Like, let's go here. And then you get there and it's like, okay, we need to do X, Y, Z. And you do X, Y, Z. It's like, oh, we still don't have the wang jangle. We need to still do this. And like, I hear you. It can be a bit long-winded. Like, maybe some of those sections could have been tighter.
Just feels like artificially long at times. Like in this mine, for example, I think there were multiple doors where it's like, oh, let's check that door. Nope, not that one. Got to check that one. Nope, not that one. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, no, look, I hear that. Maybe it is artificially long in some instances of the game. But again, it's such a difficult thing for me to gauge because I've really sprinkled out a lot of the main story with side quests, which, for example, you might do some side quests in the same realm, but you're doing a different story beat. So it takes you out of that, we're trying to do X, Y, Z. So it feels a bit different. But yeah, that's it. I'm curious to see what other people think of the overall time. Because if I were to hazard a guess, I was telling you I'm playing on the hardest difficulty, which means I've died a lot.
That's a good point actually to mention as well, is that I mean, to be fair, I'm playing on normal and I'm still dying quite a bit because I feel terrible at the combat. But I assume a lot of hours have been put in on your side. That
I wouldn't say like deaths, I've lost 10 hours to dying, but I mean, at least a handful of hours, maybe 2 or 3 have certainly been to like, oh no, I need to retry this boss a couple of times. But with my mix of side quests, getting to 40 hours, and now I think I'm at the end, unless, it's the classic, oh no, it's not the end. There's a whole separate act.
Listen, the original did that, I think, twice. So.
Yeah. So, but in my head, I'm like, it feels like I'm at the end. So I'm going to guess and say, like, if you were to mainline the story, I'm putting an educated guess of 15, maybe 25 hours, which that's still pretty
15
long.
Seems way too low. I don't.
You think it's low? So let's say 20 to 25. That's longer than
Yeah.
the original by a good couple of hours already.
Yeah.
And I think it might be longer. Like, again, I don't know how long it is.
I think in general, people are going to spend more time finishing this than they did in the original. Based on
100%. This game's longer without a doubt. I think even just the fact that there are more realms and each realm
exactly
probably has not probably, but most realms have a bunch of side quests. Like, there's a lot more game here
because there were only like 4 or 5 in the first one.
And
like 2 of those were just like puzzle
story beats
challenge
or,
places.
But it's just to go back to your point, I hear you. I think some of the sections might be a bit artificially long, but I'd be curious to, like, I can't tell you from my side, yes, that's a definite, oh my God, it was too long throughout. but I'm curious to see what other people feel. But I think,
I think people will come down on different ways on that thing.
Yeah.
I definitely think, it's more of a subjective thing. I just think it's prudent to warn people that, like, if you, like, we both loved the first game. I had my issues with it in its opening hours, but by the end, I pretty much, like, it was like my game of that year, without a doubt. But since then, a lot of people have come in and said they burnt out on that game. They just felt like it didn't have the mechanics to sustain, all of that time of gameplay. And I think if that's you, then you're going to have trouble here.
Yeah.
Like, probably more so, because it is very much those same mechanics, albeit refined. But I don't think if you burnt out on the first one, I don't think there's enough here that is going to change your mind, put it that way.
But it's so funny that on that criticism of the original game, I felt so different, because it felt like that game always drip fed me something, just enough to make it.
I feel the same way.
Whereas again, this game feels different because it feels like you get most of your tools up front, with some exception. Like, a good example is, from the first game, you get runic attacks. You don't start with any of those. You only get your first one a couple of hours in. So, like, they do introduce some stuff, but it's definitely at a slower pace.
Yeah, because you front loaded with so much stuff. I think if they front loaded that and then started drip feeding you immediately, it would be overwhelming.
Yeah, it'd be way too much.
But I think that's why now I'm at a point where I'm feeling a bit more empowered with the abilities I have, is because that drip feeding is now starting again, after the like deluge of it at the beginning. And it just feels like it's more dynamic. So I guess in closing, I'm nowhere near the end, but I'm having a good time so far. I think the story is really what's keeping me hooked, just like the first game is. That's what kept me hooked. Straight up cried in the first 5 minutes, because dear God, there's a scene there that is just heartbreaking.
It's a left field scene,
and just
you won't
beautifully acted, just incredible. Like, but yeah, so I'm excited to see the conclusion, and I'm actually quite happy, especially now that I've kind of settled in. I'm very happy this is the conclusion of the story. If this was a middle of a trilogy story, I would already be feeling like, oh God, I can't do this for another game. You know what I mean? So I think that was a good decision by them. So yeah.
Yeah, I think my closing thoughts is, I think the biggest compliment I can give this game is that it is a worthy sequel. Because let's be honest, how do you follow one of the best games ever made? It's not just my opinion. It won many Game of the Year awards that year for good reason. Like, it's a very well made, well polished, great game, fun to play, gorgeous to look at. Even on the PS4 back then, playing it on PS5 now with 60 FPS is just, it feels good. But in terms of that, like, the quality is just, you can't flaw the studio. In terms of design and visuals, and and just everything, voice acting, facial capture, it's just top notch across the board. Like, I can't offer criticisms on that front specifically. So yeah, take my hat off to the team. It's easily one of my favorite games this year. I've had moments where there is that glaring question of, like, is this the game to take Elden Ring off the Game of the Year throne? I've had moments where I thought I could see that.
I actually didn't even think of that, because the whole year you've been kind of like Elden Ring.
But I've had moments where, like, subjectivity aside, objectively, they're both very well made games. And again, like, Elden Ring did things to push that, From Software's formula forward, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still their base DNA. You know what I mean? In terms of quality with both of these, I'm like, I don't know, God of War is very well made. Like, I can't flaw it on much. So it'd be very interesting come end of the year to see, if people who didn't vibe with Elden Ring are like, of course, God of War's Game of the Year, and vice versa.
I can tell you, actually, I was about to be like, oh, I'm pretty sure more people play God of War than Elden Ring, but then I just remembered what, like, sales Elden Ring did.
Elden Ring,
that actually is not true. But
Yeah,
I do think it's
going to.
I think irrespective of where people fall, like it's still gonna be up there as one of the
Oh yeah,
the best games of the year.
One of the best games of 2022. I
I
can say that's with a complete straight face.
I just, based on what I've played, I don't think it's going to garner the same.
Maybe not the same love.
Not the same level of critical acclaim. I think it's going to get. I think it's going to review very well.
Yeah.
I mean, based on us, we are very positive on it, and I think most people are going to be. But I don't think it's going to hit in the same way that the original, well, the first game did, just because that felt novel, and this feels like more of that
100%. Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's it's a difficult discussion because it's come full circle. It is a thing of I went in going like, how are they going to blow me away? Like God of War 2018 was so good. How do you do better? And playing it now, I'm like, I don't know. I kind of like this game as is. Like, sure, they could do more.
Yeah.
But how do you don't, what's that age old saying? Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As something Brock would probably say.
It's a tricky balance to find because it's like, don't just rehash it. People expect something more and interesting. And I think that's where the story really comes in. So that's why I'm excited to kind of play more and see how that kind of concludes.
So I will say stay tuned for you specifically because there are definitely surprises and twists and things that happen that have at least kept me engaged throughout. Like there's a reason I played 40 hours and it's one of those things, not like, it's been 40 hours. It's like, man, I can't wait to play more of this.
Like, damn, can't wait until Zeus comes back.
I can't wait.
Comes back and punches Odin in the face. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Never saw that coming.
If that's what happens at the end, that is complete
Jesus,
fluke.
If that's what happens. Wow. Let me play your lottery numbers today.
Good Lord, we're hitting once here. Cool, but yeah, that's our thoughts on God of War. Real good game.
Yes.
I think when you are finished the game, whenever in the future, whether it be this month or next year, we will do a full spoiler cast. We will dive into,
and when people obviously have had the chance
actually
to play
played it.
Yeah. But for now, I guess that's our concluding thoughts on God of War Ragnarok. It is out just under a week's time, so 9th of November. It's on PS4 and PS5. So that's pretty cool. Looks pretty great on PS5. We both played it on PS5. Looks pretty great there. Runs really well. I guess thanks to Sony for providing us code.
So early.
That.
It's really nice to get a game.
Yeah, it was super nice to get it like almost 2 weeks ahead of this embargo. Yeah, so that was cool. And we're back, I think.
Wow.
I don't know. I haven't edited this yet, so who knows?
We've never done this before, but it's fun. It'll work.
It's going to be fun.
Wow, what a great review by Pastor. Damn, 10 out of 10.
Can't believe I was that. Who would have thought we could have said those words? Could have had those thoughts.
Amazing. Yeah.
But that's God of War. I'm still actively playing it. Matty's finished it now.
But I'm hunting that there platinum.
He's hunting those ravens.
The only thing I will say, I'll speak 30 seconds on God of War Ragnarok. There's no trophy list because the game's not out yet. So I'm just blindly ticking off everything in the hope that those are tied to trophies, which I'm pretty sure they are. Generally, it is.
I'm pretty sure they are. There's a lot of stuff there that I'm like, yeah, this is definitely going to be a trophy, like complete X number of these or complete X number of those. I hope there's none of the bullshit combat stuff where it's like, perform a combo where you do this. I hate trophies like that. I'm just like, I find
with Sony first-party titles, the trophy list seems to be fair, like 99% of the time. Apart from, Bloodborne, where it's like, okay, get this one boss, kill this one boss, you got to go through 10 hours of chalice dungeons. That's some nonsense.
I mean, that's fair. They want you to engage with the content they made. I mean, it's not like Persona 5.
I played the game 4 times.
Persona 5, quite literally, Persona 5 is a trophy where it's like, overhear every possible conversation or something close to that. Or you had to listen to like a stupid number of lines of dialogue where like you'd have to play the game 2 or 3 times. It is the reason I haven't even bothered with like trying to hunt down that platinum because I'm just like, that's stupid. Like, I'm not going to do multiple playthroughs of a 100-hour game. It's just not going to happen. So
it sounds silly.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2, Horizon Zero Dawn I did Horizon Forbidden West, I didn't. I haven't done a platinum in a very long time. I just don't have the time anymore.
I don't have the time, but I want to. Lenska was saying to me yesterday, like, "Oh, what are you going to play next?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I want to platinum God of War, but I've still got to play Modern Warfare 2's campaign. I want to put some time into the multiplayer. You've got Bayonetta 3 kicking around. The new Pokemon's around the corner. Still want to get back to Plague Tale Requiem. I'm like, I shouldn't platinum this game.
Yeah, Plague Tales is sitting there. I also just want to play more Marvel Snap all the time.
Oh my God, Marvel Snap.
Every waking moment is...
Throw all review games out the window. Marvel Snap is the game of the year.
Just unbelievably good. Just one of the best card games I've played in like ever. I fucking love it. Maybe it's the dopamine hits of always winning because I'm just good, you know?
You're just like the best.
Challenge me, 1v1 me.
I don't think we touched on it because, so if you don't know, we spoke about Marvel Snap a fair bit last week. You can find the full review on YouTube or the last podcast episode. But I think what I did discover since then is that Ben Brode is on the game and he came over from
the designer
the
of
Hearthstone team. Yeah, so it's funny because then I was like, oh, I can kind of see similar, not the same DNA, but like a similar foundational ideas, just amended into a different way or a different version of, it's funny how there's a power system or every turn you get an extra thing of, quote unquote mana.
Like
and it looks, when I think of it, I'm like, it looks kind of similar. It's that little
blue and orange.
Yeah, the blue and orange. Yeah. Like it's kind of similar. So yeah, that makes sense to me. But it also explains why Marvel Snap is really good, I think, because I think him and his team,
he was instrumental in making Hearthstone really good the first couple of seasons.
I think him and obviously he's not the only person working on it, but he's got the brain and the contribution to make really good card games. Yeah, if you haven't played it, Marvel Snap is entirely free on mobile. It's on Steam. It is very easy to learn. The games are stupidly quick. When I say quick, I mean 2 to 3 minutes, if that.
And
you can get a game in at any damn moment of your life, and it is a problem.
Which is why it's a problem. Like it's just so easy to. Oh my goodness! Yeah, it's so easy to get a game in at any time. Like you said, you're like, oh, walking to a meeting can get a game in.
100%.
How big is your office?
I mean, it's not that big. I walk like 10 seconds to the room, but I mean, I'm already halfway through a game.
so you're basically like in the meeting, and you're like, just wait a minute, I'll be with you now.
Hang on, I'm about to snap this.
Hold on, he just played a Cyclops.
That
what an idiot!
Yeah, what an idiot. What a poor value card, Cyclops. 3 mana for 4 attack. Like, ugh.
Oh, it's bad. And he has like no effect. No ability.
Cool visual effect, bad card. But
terrible.
Marvel Snap is good, and I look forward to seeing how they support this game into the future, because they've got the whole Marvel catalog to draw from. I mean, they've got a lot of the iconic characters there already, but good Lord, when you've got Marvel's entire pantheon of heroes and villains, you can really keep this game going for many, many, many years. So
yeah,
it's good.
Yeah, I think the current season is it's Into the Spider-Verse season.
Oh, I did not even know that.
Oh, you're not even there yet? Yeah, okay, so you need to complete the Recruit Season Pass, all the challenges on there. And that opens up the actual Season Pass.
Oh my God, I've played so much, I haven't unlocked that.
No, the one you have to actually purchase. Otherwise, you only get the free tiers on there. And that is like way more extensive a Season Pass, and there's loads of cards in there. So
how much does a Season Pass cost?
169 Rand.
I mean, I'd pay that. I'm playing this game so much.
Yeah. The amount I'm playing, it's it's a no-brainer. But I also learned that, so you know on that card collection ranking thing, so every time you upgrade or get a new card or upgrade a card, you get a certain number of points on this like ranking, which is your collector ranking.
Yeah.
And I think it's like every 2 points there, or every 2 intervals you get a reward. And some of those are mystery cards. So those mystery cards are pulled from a lot. And that lot is actually determined by your overall level. So once you reach I think card collection level like 200, you actually open up lot 2. So you start pulling brand new cards from a whole new lot, and you start playing against people who have access to those cards. You don't play against people until you have access to those cards. So like, I think right now there's actually 3 lots. Like, I think the third one you can only reach when you reach like level 3 or 400 or some ridiculous thing. And
I'm
so
like level 100.
anecdotally, I've seen people talking on Reddit about like, oh, when you reach the second lots of cards to pull from, the game changes because now there's a whole new meta. Because there's all these different cards that completely change how the game works. And then the same thing happens when you get to the third one. And I guess progressing that thing doesn't really require the season pass. You don't need the season pass. Just gives you access to cards in the season pass.
Yeah.
But you can always pull mystery cards from another source. So
yeah,
it's really well designed. I like it quite a lot.
It's good. Yeah, go play it. I insist. It's an addiction just waiting to happen.
Yeah. Should we bounce?
Did you just do an actual bounce?
Bounce. Let's bounce to game releases. It is game releases,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, cool. Big weekend game releases.
Again,
I mean,
no brakes on the release train.
Can just say that for the whole of November, to be honest. So, kicking things off, Soulstone Survivors, Steam Early Access PC, November 7th. The Unliving.
I hate it so much.
Steam Early Access PC, November 7th. Return to Monkey Island, coming to consoles, November 8th. It's coming to Xbox Game Pass on the same day. That's pretty dope. Oh, big game of the week. It's this is the one people been waiting for. Sonic Frontiers. Gotta go fast.
Is there any chance we would get code for this? No.
Oh, I thought you said, is there any chance this game will be good? No.
Like, who distributes this? Do we get Sonic game codes?
Sonic is Sega. Sega is what's the name? Gamefinity. So maybe.
I'm cautiously optimistic about this game. This is going to be bad. Okay.
I've just nuked our chances of getting code because I've just said this game's going to be bad.
Set the expectation. Good job.
Yeah. Breath of the Fast.
Nice.
Coming to PC, consoles, even Switch, November 8th. Collect those Chaos Emeralds. A little to the left, PC, November 8th. Is this just like a...
It's
like when you're putting up a frame and you just got to move it a little to the left?
It's unpacking the spiritual successor, not at all related, but probably in the same vein. You've not played Unpacking?
No.
Oh my goodness. It's 3 hours long. It's so wholesome, super chill.
I need to play it.
Lens can finish it in just about one sitting. It's really good.
Oh, I should do that. That sounds like a perfect time.
Yeah.
Land of the Vikings, Steam Early Access, November 8th, PC.
It's a weird
Football Manager
name for God of War Ragnarök.
Yeah, Land of the Vikings. Football Manager 2023, PC and Xbox One, November 8th.
Nice.
A sort of big one for the week, God of War Ragnarök coming to PS4 and PS5, November 9th.
I've heard it's okay.
I've heard it's fine, These
It's
two
cool.
bozos on Checkpoint Chat seem to enjoy it. So, Dark Ultimate Edition. I like this game. Okay. Let me actually see what I get.
The hell's Dark? Oh, did you play this?
Yeah, I reviewed it for GameSpot about 2 years ago. It's sort of like a Tim Burton-esque horror puzzle game. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, it's not bad.
Nice.
It's got some really, really cool puzzles, I think. It's almost like a Limbo, like a 2D.
Okay. That's how you nothing, but you figure shit out.
Yes.
Then. Okay.
Yeah. So I liked it, and it's got a really good visual style. I thought the stealth kind of sucked, and it kind of just ends. Like, I'm like, oh, this thing's starting to get good, and then boom, it just ends because it's like 2 hours long. And I was like, what?
The heck?
So, yeah. I'm actually not sure what's in this Ultimate Edition, but I would implore people to play it. It seems pretty cool. There is the dev team who made this. They're busy working on another game where you play as like a vampire that is, I think it's like a vampire that owns like a smithing, like a blacksmith workshop. So it's like very, very in-depth, like smithing simulator, but then also this undertone of like you can't eat your clients or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
I think I know exactly what game you're talking about. That rings a bell.
Let me actually just check. So Unfold Games.
Mm-hmm.
Unfold Games. They are working on. Wow, imagine I could find working on Bloody Hell Hotel. So
yeah, that sounds familiar. I think I remember seeing that trailer.
Bloody Hell Hotel. Bloody Hell Hotel, you embody a vampire. Oh, okay, I was wrong. You embody a vampire. You wake up from a coma, blah, blah, blah. You're basically trying to run a hotel while not trying to eat your patrons, kind of thing.
Yes.
But it's got this really cool, like you're doing this from a first person perspective. So
like I know exactly which game you're talking about.
Everything's like telekinetic and
all sorts of things.
It looks pretty cool, I think. I think it looks rad. So I wish them the best on that. And I thought Dark was great, so you should play
Good luck and Godspeed.
So yeah, that was a nice diversion there. Shadow of the Guild, PC, November 10th.
Oh my goodness, the next game. You've heard of Robin Hood, but are you ready for...
Why is there an apostrophe there?
Are you ready for Common Hood?
Common Hood, but with an apostrophe between common and hood.
So we touched on colons
so what letter's missing there?
And dashes earlier, but adding random...
But an apostrophe is meant to denote a missing letter. What's missing there?
Common
or a contraction or
Commonwealth Hood. I don't know.
Oh my god, get out of here! That's coming out to PC November 10th. Lunistus? Help me.
Don't know. Lunistus.
PC and Switch November 10th. Oh my god.
Fabula,
Once Upon a Space Time.
Hang on, the dash is for early access, but still.
Yeah, the dash, it got there. It was close. It was touch and go there. Robo Legend coming to PC November 10th. This is also quite a big one for some PC, for some people. Tactics Ogre Reborn. PC, PS4, and 5, and Switch. Isn't this a remake of... Isn't it like a tile-based JRPG thing?
No idea. It sounds like a JRPG.
Talking about tiles.
Yeah.
Well, I mean... JRPGs can work on tiles.
There's a Tile Africa partnership just waiting to happen. Yeah.
Tiles. You know who else says tiles? Italia. Italy. Is it Italy?
I can't remember.
It's such a dumb name. I hate it. I just nuke that sponsorship. So, Titan Station coming to PC November 11th. And then last one for the week, Hidden Through Time, Definitive Edition. No, not even definitive. Definite Edition. What?
What's going on here?
What? PS4 and Switch November 11th. It's the definite edition. It's definitely the game that you're getting.
Hate to see it.
Yep.
That is
games released. You ready to get that angry face out?
Oh my god. Hang on, I've got to are we doing news? Okay, we've got to change to this.
We are jumping to the news, and we are going to... Well, I guess it's not angry. It's more like a disappointment. Oh, my God.
Not angry. You need to tell me.
It's just a disappointing face.
No, I don't have time to add a disappointed face.
So, kicking things off with the news, PlayStation VR 2 launches in February. Are you ready for the price?
I know the price.
$550.
So for those of you keeping count, that is
Sony insane.
More
I'm
than
sorry.
The PS5. Look,
listen.
It's yeah. No, what?
It's crazy. It is crazy. I get it. This thing is really advanced. It's got like some of the best lenses in a VR headset. On this thing, these like pancake lenses. It's got a really high resolution. It's got controllers included this time. People forget that when comparing the price to the old one, because the old one didn't have the Move controllers or the camera. This one doesn't need a camera because obviously it's got the inside-out tracking, so cameras are beaming shit out in front of you and picking up the controllers.
Oh my goodness.
I still don't understand this. A few years ago, I thought we had turned a corner in VR when Facebook, at the time Oculus, released the Quest and then followed that up with the Quest 2, it was like, VR is
affordable.
kind of accessible.
Yeah.
VR, you can buy an all-in-one VR headset for $300, the Quest.
Yeah.
And then if you really want to, you can hook that thing up to a PC, or you can fucking crack it wide open if you really wanted to and start doing weird things with it. Because it is it's just a device that can connect to multiple platforms.
Yeah.
PlayStation VR 2 is by nature a completely closed ecosystem.
Yeah.
You cannot connect it to a PC, which I think if they gave you the ability to do that would have been a big benefit, because firstly, they could have put their VR games on PC, and then it could have maybe been compatible with a bunch of VR games on Steam. So maybe if it plugged into Steam's VR API, figure that stuff out, it would make it more enticing.
Yeah.
But the fact that it can only work with a PS5, you need a PS5, a $500 console.
Yeah.
And then you're beholden to, firstly, the pricing and whatever games come out for this thing on PS5, which can then have their support yanked unceremoniously, just like the first PlayStation VR, and then have it completely deprecated like they have here, where Sony said, hey, PSVR 1 games cannot work on PSVR 2. And yes, a lot of devs are doing the work to bring their game over and then make it available for free, but that's not a rule, what I mean?
That's just, Well,
so
I wanted to ask, so how will this connect to the PS5? Because it's a lot less cables.
With a USB-C cable.
Is it not possible to crack it, whatever, quotes and quotes, on PC? Do you not think somebody will figure out?
I suspect someone's going to figure that out.
Yeah, because I think the last PSVR, that setup, you needed a degree in cable management and all sorts of nonsense to get that thing
and it
running.
wasn't worth it. Even when PSVR, the first PSVR required use with the camera and the Move controllers, so setting those things up on PC as well just didn't make sense.
Yeah. But I mean,
I completely agree with you. I don't think it will even be a few months. Someone's going to figure this out. So
someone will figure it out, and then maybe then it'll be interesting because you don't need a PS5 to get a really good PS.
Maybe then you'll be able to play Half-Life Alyx, because it doesn't seem like that game is fucking coming to PSVR 2. Like the launch. This is part of the problem. So they announced that they are going to be, what is it, like 20-something games.
I just realized I'm on the wrong news thing here.
There's going to be like 20-something games at launch. Oh my god. Okay, sorry. I have to just point this out. $550 includes no games.
Nice.
If you want the bundle with that Horizon Call of the Mountain game, which for some reason isn't included in Sony's list of launch titles, which is strange. Like, anyway, that's now an additional $50. $600 if you want the game. You want the charging station for the controllers? $50 per controller. There's 2.
Oh, does it? Nice. Yeah, I don't know. Look, it's interesting because I'm completely with you. This is ludicrously expensive.
It's obscene. I'm sorry. It's just Sony wants the idea of PlayStation VR, and this is not Sony's problem to solve, but the idea was always this is the accessible way to get into VR. Because at the time when PSVR 1 came out, the Oculus Rift then was around the same price, but also required a very beefy computer.
Yeah.
Valve stuff has always been obscenely expensive. I think the Valve Index is still retailing for $1,000. Like, it's crazy expensive, and then requires a PC.
Yeah.
So this was always like, oh, you've got a console. Here's a VR headset that connects to. The fact that the VR headset is more than the console that powers it is crazy to me. Like, it just.
Yeah.
Now, I expected a high price because of the specs, but this is way beyond that, I think.
I think the idea here is that if you put it like that, okay, so, if you want to get Valve's VR, you're going to need their expensive headset and a PC. Whereas here, like for both, to get a PS5 and the VR, you're looking at the same price just for the Valve headset, if that makes sense.
No, I get that, yeah.
But then I think I'm sure their thought here is like, okay, well, there are 2 million, or it's not 2 million, however many people have PS5s. You've already coughed up, half the cost. Some people will be like, yeah, it's expensive, but like, I'm paying $550 not $1,050. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. The overall cost is still a lot. But I think the mindset of the marketing peeps at Sony is targeting the mindsets of people who have a PS5 going like, I already have the PS5. What is it in me to go $550? It's still expensive. I'm with you.
I still think it's within, then it's their responsibility to sell this tech. It's not, if you're like, cool, you've made half the investment, now make basically
another one.
repurchase a PS5 so that you can play this limited subset of VR games. And I think what irks me is that none of the games that they've at least announced so far, because they've only announced like half their launch lineup, none of them really scream PSVR 2. They're all available, most of them, all available on PC for play on a range of other headsets that a lot of people might own that are a lot cheaper.
Well, I want to ask,
why do you need this?
On that, so PS Plus for the last 3 years, whatever, always offered like a PSVR game every month.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So if I redeemed all those games in the hope that one day I'll get PSVR or PSVR 2, are those not going to work with this headset?
None of them work here.
I'm not going to get a PSVR.
Literally none of them work here. And if Sony follows the sort of mantra they have with PS Plus games and upgrades, any of those games that have free PSVR 2 upgrades will not be applicable to PS Plus titles, because that's not how it works. You don't own the game.
Yeah. It's weird.
So it's such a hard sell. I really wanted this thing. I really, really wanted because I've got the first Quest, and I think the first Quest is great, but I don't use that thing much anymore. I played Half-Life Alyx. I've played a bunch of Beat Saber. I've dabbled in the small, interesting little VR experiments here and there that are only available on PC still.
Yeah.
There is nothing here, at least from a game perspective, that makes me look at this thing and go, yeah, I could make $550 work. I'll make it work for that game. And I think for a lot of people, that game is Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah.
And a lot of people expect that to be at the launch, and it does not seem to be the case. It might not come at all.
Yeah.
It's really up to Valve if they really want to do that or not. So, if you scroll through the launch games, they're bad. None of them are interesting. I mean, Sony leads with a sort of spiritual successor to Until Dawn. That's like on rails horror shooter, which a lot of people liked, but that was like 7 years ago. VR has moved way past this. You're on a trolley and you get to shoot shit.
Yeah.
I'm not paying $550 for that.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah.
I don't
know. I don't understand it. I suspect local pricing will be
oh my gosh
bad. Because if you think about the fact that, okay, we don't get our consoles from $1 price, but this is just a good point of comparison, is when we got the PS5, it was $500. We got it here locally for 12,000 Rand. That was 2 years ago. The exchange rate has wildly changed since then.
It's been
with respect
crazy,
to the euro, the pound, and the dollar. It's weakened across the board, significantly. So $550, I would be shocked if we get anywhere under 15K.
Yeah, I think 15K is what the recommended price would be.
Again, take that into consideration. That's 27,000 Rand to play PlayStation VR 2.
I mean, it'll be worth it when I can play Until Dawn on rails. I mean,
it's great. You're approaching the ludicrous prices of an NVIDIA GPU. The shit that people point at and go, that is crazy. No one wants to do that.
That is hilarious, though, because that is kind of a good segue into our next news piece, which is AMD's next-gen RX 7900 XTX and XT GPU start at $899 and launch on December 13th.
Very excited about this.
Look at this man's face. Where's my happy face emoji?
I'm excited because competition works. Aren't you happy?
Yeah.
Competition is great. So yeah, I mean, the NVIDIA launch kind of went as expected. The 4090 came. It's still selling. It's still obscenely expensive, I think. And I think NVIDIA feels emboldened by not having really tough competition, that they can kind of do whatever they want.
By the flame of ambition.
Jensen out on stage saying that Moore's Law is dead and that they are actually being forced into this pricing battle. And AMD comes out and is like, nah, check this shit out.
Yeah,
and they're launching their flagship GPU for $200 less than NVIDIA's 4080, which is not even their flagship. And granted, AMD made no qualms about saying they are going to be better than the 4090, but they certainly seem to think they can trade blows and beat the 4080 for $200 less, which is a big, big deal. So yeah, these cards are out on December 13th. There's only 2 cards out at the time. It's, these names, man. The 7900 XTX, which is $1,000. And then the 7900 just XT, which is $900, so $100 cheaper. And it seems the main difference between the two is the bigger one has 24 gigs of memory, smaller one is 20. They actually have slower memory than the NVIDIA cards, and this kind of makes sense to me. There are no games that are even coming close to utilizing even AMD's slower memory that they've chosen to use. So why pay the premium for memory that you are actually not going to, at least for gaming, that you're not going to utilize. So yeah, I think AMD's made some very smart choices. Yeah, they've gone with like a chiplet design on their board, which allows them to use different generations of hardware, which keeps costs down and keeps power draw in check. So yeah, when reviews come out, when this thing's coming out on the 13th of December, so when reviews come out, I'm very
around the corner.
Curious to see how it performs. Yeah, I do think it's still going to get smoked when it comes to ray tracing performance, because AMD was basically saying they're getting 50% more performance, which if you just apply that to their current numbers means they're still well behind NVIDIA.
50% on 0 is still 0 AMD.
Yeah, essentially. But who knows? I'm not sure. I think the days of NVIDIA being the days of you go NVIDIA because DLSS are kind of gone, because AMD's caught up with FSR 2.0 to a degree. It's still not as good, but it's like good enough that it's not really much of an issue anymore. I think it's just the ray tracing performance, which is a big sticking point for some people. But if you don't really give a shit about that, then you could pick up a $900 card and get performance close to a $1,300 card.
Yeah,
$200 card.
Even on the ray tracing thing, like I think given enough time, AMD will just get closer and closer to
eventually.
Yeah,
eventually,
which is interesting. Until NVIDIA come out with ray tracing 2.0 or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, listen, I think that's getting there, and especially with Unreal Engine 5, the sort of ray tracing support that engine has is kind of obscene. So that's where NVIDIA's cards are going to shine. But we also got to remember that game design, for the most part, is dictated by what is possible on console.
Yeah.
And the consoles are running on now older gen AMD hardware that is pretty bad at ray tracing. So like, I think you will get the exceptions. Like Cyberpunk 2077 is an exception of a game that was clearly devved on PC and then paired back for console. Yeah. But 99% of the time, the opposite is true. And I don't think that's really going to change. So will you use your super powerful thing for this amazing ray tracing? Probably not. Yeah. No. Will it look good? Absolutely. Yeah. But is it worth $1,600?
Probably not. But you're right. It's up to you. We don't judge.
Yeah. Unless you buy PSVR 2, then I judge you.
What news you want to bounce to? Should we touch on...
Tell me about this Kojima nonsense.
So I don't know about this Kojima nonsense, other than for the last 45 years, it seems that Kojima's been working on a horror game called Overdose. And as more time goes past, more stuff seems to be leaking, to the point where I'm just like, just announce it. So we all know it's official. It's cool.
One could say we're overdosing on leaks.
But I think last night, some footage leaked of the game. By footage, I mean secondhand, low quality 90s camcorder footage, probably.
Literally, someone recording it with a phone, recording another phone. Also, the guy had no shirt on.
Which has since been scrubbed by, off the internet, as much as it can be. But I think one of the biggest nuggets of information that came from this latest leak is that You're gonna have to help me with this name here because I don't know if I'm saying it right. Margaret Qualley, who was Mama from Death Stranding, is pretty key in this game, it seems, as her character is seen walking through the halls of an abandoned building with creepy noises in the background and brief flashes of what could be a monster or a killer. So I don't know if she's the main character or a prominent role, but she is in this game. So Kojima's still not skimping on getting these A-tier actors and actresses for his games. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm glad he's working on a horror game. I think given what he did with PT,
think it would be cool. Yeah.
I'd love to see what he can do, given with an actual AAA release horror game. Let's hope things don't sour when he leaves his own company to go form another company to make something else. Like, let's hope this horror game gets over the finish line.
There's an interesting tidbit here in the Polygon piece. It says, based on the footage, which is filmed off screen twice and includes a picture-in-picture view of a woman playing the game, it seems that Overdose might be a mobile game, or at least playable on mobile devices. Well, this would be a bit of a departure for Kojima. Kojima Productions is working on a game for Xbox Studios utilizing Microsoft's cloud gaming technology. Now, that's what I wanted to know was, is Overdose the Xbox cloud game, or are they separate?
Yeah, I think you were saying before we started recording, you wonder if this isn't just the Xbox exclusive.
That makes me think it is, because if it's on mobile, and he's trying to render I don't see Kojima making a mobile game traditionally. I see him using the cloud to use mobile in some weird way. That makes sense to me.
What's interesting, so I've been listening to his podcast. I don't know if I've actually spoken about this on our podcast, but in one of his episodes, he said the context was things he sort of wants to do, how he wants to kind of innovate games. And one thing he said is he would love to make it that the sound a player experiences is unique in every instance. So it's not sound. So it's not like the music or the ambient sound. So it's not like an original soundtrack playing. It's a thing of, the player opens a door and the soundtrack reacts to that, for example. It's like a very bad example. But he said that's not possible, or at least it wasn't, before cloud technology was a thing. So I wonder if that's not something, given a horror game, it could be something to make sure that every player has a unique sounding game as well, like distinct and unique to their playthrough, on this cloud-based horror game. It could be a thing. So yeah, that's interesting. Like he's very good at innovating. So I'm curious to see if that is a thing that we see, maybe in this game, if it is a cloud-based game, which it could be. So yeah, I guess we'll hear more though.
Yeah, I'm keen to hear more. Curious to hear more about that. Should we fly through some smaller ones here? The Last of Us is getting... Well, The Last of Us HBO series got a release date, and it's quite soon.
It's January, I think.
Yeah, January. Well, premiering 15th in the US, 16th in the rest of the world. And this is HBO, so it's weekly. Obviously, it's not all at once. But yeah, super keen to give this a watch. That first trailer was moody in all the right ways. So yeah, hella keen. Keen for Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey to make me cry.
I'm ready for Pedro Pascal and Baby Grogu to make a guest appearance.
Baby Grogu.
It's funny. He's kind of playing the same role here, right, as the Mandalorian. He's a dude.
Kind of. He's just shepherding some child from one place to another, protecting them, kind of, yeah.
Nice.
Prepared all his life for these roles.
I guess just sticking with the PlayStation theme, PlayStation Plus has lost nearly 2 million subscribers months after the relaunch. However, revenue is up, if I'm not mistaken, by 10%, which tells us that there are less people paying for PS Plus, but the same people are paying slightly more. On average. I guess it's to be expected with COVID. Gaming across the board went up because people couldn't go outside. Now people are going outside and touching grass, not playing games. So, but even when you look at the numbers, it's like it dropped from 47 million to 45 million. I'm like, those are still big numbers, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is not to say that, oh my god, PS Plus
PlayStation's
has
dead.
no subscribers anymore.
Yeah.
I do think both things can be true here. Where yes, in a way, the launch of the new PS Plus tiers worked because it got people to upgrade.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it got a lot of people to realize they don't need PS Plus.
Yeah.
And that's
100%.
where you're seeing, you know, in combined with the COVID stuff, the NPD has kind of said that, you know, across all markets, this is going to happen because COVID's ending. But I do think the launch of PS Plus was confusing and strange and put a lot of people off.
It's the naming for me.
It's the naming.
PS Plus will forever be confusing. In my mind, tier 1 through 3 is PS Plus, PS Plus Plus, and PS Plus Plus Plus. Because I can't remember what the hell the names are.
I think the big thing now is the next year. Like how do they sustain growth or sustain what they have? Like if people feel like they're not being served the games they want.
They'll bounce,
you know, on the higher tiers, they're going to bounce very quickly, you know, because what's the point?
And is it just me or does it feel like PS Plus gets, you know, their Game Pass version, the PlayStation version of Game Pass? It feels like it gets 5 or 6 games a month, or at least that I've seen like publicly announced, like coming new to PS Plus whatever. Whereas Game Pass, it always feels like there are weekly drops almost. So every second week there's like a new batch of games.
Way more.
So like, I don't know, you know, you're right. In the long run, will people eventually be like, you know, PlayStation Plus, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not giving me the offering I want, you know?
And especially for the higher tier, because the higher tier is the one that gives you classic games and stuff like that. If that shit's not being updated or, you know, because I'm sure a lot of people subscribed and, you know the way people subscribe, they go for long. They're not going to do month to month. They'll be like, I'll buy a year of this.
Yeah.
So people who bought a year of the highest tier, if they get to the end and they're like, wow, I played no classic games or I streamed no games from PS3.
So I'm just gonna,
they'll just downgrade. Like they won't leave PS Plus, I don't think, but the revenue will drop.
Will go down, yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to see what, you know, how this is reported in a year from now. That'll be the big test for Sony. So yeah.
I think this happened last night. So the Overwatch Grand Finals happened. Some esports, and they announced a new tank hero called Ramatra. You like Symmetra, get ready for Ramatra, which seems to be a theme with naming because this is a Omnic tank. From
you mean like Zenyatta?
Zenyatta. Oh wait, who did I say? Zenyatta.
You said.
Oh, Symmetra. My bad. That's
Symmetra.
Not at all.
It's like,
completely different character. My bad. But maybe there's a link there. I don't know. From the very brief reading I've done, this was all we got was a cinematic, and this tank will have 2 different forms. Don't know what that means, but I'm assuming it's one of those things where, you know, you get a set of abilities in one form and another set of abilities in the other form. So that's cool. I'm quite curious to see at what cadence Blizzard releases heroes now, because, you know, it's a free-to-play game. They've got season passes, and I think every season is going to have a new hero, which means the cadence of the hero releases is going to be somewhat quicker, I think. Yeah, Overwatch 2
I think that's what it needs.
Played a bit this week. It's in a much better state. Queue times aren't as ludicrously long. It's good.
Okay, that's good.
Queuing for a damage or tank roll, which when at launch was 8 to 11 minutes, was like 5 minutes max this week, which is still long, but it's a lot better, you know. And then
nice.
Last piece of news: A Plague Tale Requiem has passed 1 million sales, and the devs celebrate. Apparently,
pretty great.
But I think what you mentioned, what's quite interesting about this doesn't include Game Pass.
Yeah.
So good on the devs, because I thought, like, not at all in a bad way, but I thought because it's on Game Pass, the sales would be a lot lower, because why would you buy this game if you can play it on PC and Xbox Game Pass? But it seems to have sold 1 million copies, so good on them.
And pretty quickly. According to this article, the first one only passed 1 million within a year.
Yeah, this is within the first month. So is it a month? Yeah, it's about a month now. So good on them. That's very cool. Still have to finish the game myself, but visually, it's really good. That's it. I think. Any other news you want to touch on? No.
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
That is news for this week.
It means we're going to bounce over to questions. If you want to send us a question, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com, or you can message us on all of our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
All of the anywhere you see the Checkpoint Chat moniker, just drop us a message and
just go there.
At least 70% of the time, I'll actually sit and remember to bring it up. So we got a question earlier this week from good pal Malesh, where we answered his Black Friday question, right?
Yes, last week we did.
But then where's his?
This one was.
Oh, sorry, it came. I just missed it. So the headline is God of FOMO. So Malesh types, Digital Foundry hasn't answered this question yet, so you'll have to do. I don't have a PS5, and I don't have a need for a new console just yet. Having played the game, how badly would I be cheating myself by getting God of War Ragnarok on launch and experiencing it in potato mode on a base PS4? I've only played the original on a PS4, so 30 FPS should be normal, quote unquote, and I wouldn't know what I'm missing. Is this PS5 version enough of a jump that waiting a year is worthwhile? Or, quote unquote, why not both is not an answer because I simply don't have the time to replay games.
So maybe this was sent before Digital Foundry put up their findings,
he does
but
say
they did.
They hadn't answered it yet when you type this.
Yeah. They did, and they kind of answered this exact question in that it is a PS4 game at heart. It's using a lot of the same assets from the PS4 game. On PS5, they spruced up. There's a bit more detail.
Yeah.
There's a bit more technical details that are improved to make it look better. But it is certainly not. I don't think there's a monumental difference between the two unless you're putting them side by side.
Yeah.
So I think you'll be just fine playing it on PS4. If you're happy with the frame rate, then you're good.
What I was going to say is that we all played the original God of War on PS4.
Yeah.
And that was 30 FPS. And even at the time, I was blown away by the fact that this was a PS4
It looked
game.
great, yeah.
An incredible looking game. And the thing is, it looks just as good on the PS5, if not better. Obviously it'll look a bit better. It runs at 60 FPS. But if you only know the 30 FPS, why not? I'd play it. If I had no other means to play it, it's definitely worth playing. It's a much longer and much bigger game, so I don't know what load times look like, but I don't recall even on the base PS4 the load times
I didn't even think about that.
I don't remember the base PS4 load times being ludicrously long. So
the PS5 has to account for that stuff as well. There are still the moments like in the first game where you go through a small slit in the wall or open a door and it's slow, and you can definitely tell, okay, it's transitioning sort of like the little cave things in the first game.
Yeah.
And they have to do that on PS5 because they can't just admit that. They can't be like, there's no cave here.
It's funny because in the game itself, whenever you're at the wall tree, this was how loading was done in the first game. You would sort of, open a door, go to the wall tree, then walk through another door. And that door only pops up when the loading was done. So I've noticed in this game, there are moments where there's dialogue and the door only pops up when the dialogue is done.
Yes.
But on the PS5, if there's no dialogue, that door pops up pretty quickly. So I'd imagine on the PS4, you just wait a little bit longer.
I've noticed the same on the PS4. It's it pops up immediately as the dialogue's done. So it's waiting for that dialogue to finish.
It's what a coincidence. The door's ready. Yeah. You've just finished speaking.
And I remember on PS4, there were times where every now and then I'd be like, oh, I'm just walking around here for a little bit trying to wait for this door. I think those are going to be the big differences. But again, if you're not comparing them side by side, it's not going to be. But Digital Foundry is a good comparison between the two. And I watched it and there's differences. Absolutely. It is improved on PS5, but it is not, it's not oh my God, do not play this game on PS4. You're doing yourself dirty. And it runs apparently incredibly well on PS4, solid 30, no problem.
And I can confirm that a lot of assets are reused, but not in a bad way. Like you'll visit similar
very
locations.
smart ways.
Yeah. You'll visit same locations from the first game, but they changed in substantial ways.
Very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's to me it's smart use. A studio is like, yeah, this is how we're going to, reuse things that we already have to kind of cut down and work smarter, not harder. You know what I mean? I definitely think that's the case.
Just on that, this is a tangent, but it makes sense now that the game is as big as it is because God of War 2018 came out in April, so 4.5 years ago. And obviously because the engine was in place, it was just them sort of, using it to expand the game.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger, a lot more stuff, and that shows they've had the time to do all of that.
To refine it, yeah.
But yeah, if you can't wait, absolutely play it on PS4.
Yeah, absolutely think you can. Yeah.
We have a question on Instagram from my wife who says, "Why you like this?" That's very rude.
I agree with her.
Why you like this? You agree with her? It's addressed to you as well. It's addressed to both of us.
No, it's not. We spoke about this prior. It's not addressed to me. It's
conspiring against me. And then we have a question from good pal Jaden Joe who asks, how important is cable management to you guys? I ask this because I'm sorting mine out now. I've always had top tier management, but moving house sucks. But after 5 months, it's time to sort it out. It's funny because he sent this last night and then I got a WhatsApp this morning saying, let me just pull up these images here. I'll come out and say that this dude does cable management. Okay. He knows how to do a thing or two. So here we have, let me just switch this. So sorry, audio listeners, you're having the worst time here, but.
Oh dear God.
Okay, hang on. Why is this?
This hurts.
Hang on. Let me just frame this here so that we can actually see. Okay, so this is what it was. Okay, so this.
Okay, that's what it was. Okay.
This is what it was. Okay.
Good God, thank goodness.
There we go. Oh, look at that.
Clean.
The clean execution. Look at that.
I love that.
You know what blows my mind about this is that if usually these cables, if it's against a wall, you can kind of get away with it.
No.
Okay, because you won't see it unless you look under the desk. Don't visit me. Okay, you'll hate my cables. Worst.
Oh, I know your cable situation. It bugs me.
Look at this. This dude has his table like in the middle of the room. You can see one set of cables going to the what's that? The sub at the bottom, which you can't not have that.
Yeah, you can't.
Everything
get rid of
else
those.
So neat.
I love it.
I need to pay to come do my cables.
This is a man after my own heart because I kind of do the same thing as well. I could do a better job under my desk, but I've got a desk that's got like a hole in the leg at the bottom and then a hole at the top of the leg. God. So
it's life-changing.
I can feed all the cables into the bottom and then they come out the top and then go.
But so does he. Look at these legs here. There's little holes.
That's literally it. Yeah. Or you get a cable management like you get these little like riders that you can stick onto things, so you can shove the cables in there and then cover it so you don't see it. I love this. This is great. This is my passion, even though I could be a lot better at it. Like my TV cabinet when I moved in, and I think the weekend after, I spent literally the whole of a Saturday just cable managing, running routes for all the cables to all the consoles to everywhere. So when I sit in front of the cabinet, because it's like a bunch of like compartments that I can see through, I see no cables, like absolutely zero.
I'm so
if
jealous.
I go to the back of it, yes, I'll see the cables, but I'm never there because they're all routed. They're like zip tied to different routes so that they do not show when I'm like sitting in front of it. So you can only do so much. Obviously, when there's also
that's my
cables,
excuse.
like 3 consoles there, speaker wire, like there's tons of shit going on there.
Don't look at my cables. You'll cry. I
love cable management. It's great. There are people that do this for a living. I think good old Grant Hines had someone who helped him with a lot of the cable management at his house for his streaming setup.
I need to hire this person. Yeah. Or
they
just get
will come
to
and charge you money and they will be like, this is how you do it, or they'll do it for you.
My favorite part of this photo, though, is the hashtag humble, like I'm a golfer brag. Look at this.
Yeah, I'm just going to putt in my room real quick.
I've seen Jaden drive and he's got a mean drive.
That's not driving, that's putting.
No, well, I mean, yeah.
He's not driving in his PC room. You'll do you see those windows? You'll wreck those windows. The windows. You'll hit that Pac-Man ghost.
Oh my God. Well, there we go. That is all the questions we have.
Send us your gaming setup so we can Love them
Judge
or roast
them.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'll roast mine. Hands down.
I mean, I roast yours all the time. I roasted your fucking PC when I was upgrading it for you. I was appalled. Appalled. Matthew comes over and he's like, please help me. And I'm like, this is disgusting. Get out of my house.
I mean, the PC was 10 years old. It was done at that point.
This is really, that thing needed life support at that point.
This cat will not stop screaming at me.
Lupin. At least he wants to be with you. If I hold my cat like that, he's like, get away from me.
You have to
Get
say.
the fuck away from me. Look at Lupin. Lupin,
chilling.
what is your opinion on cable management?
It's like just screaming at me, like, please, pick me up. Okay, I've got you now. There you go. Nice purring.
If you want to send us questions, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on all of our social platforms at Checkpoint Chat. And that has been episode
15.
206. No, don't. 206 of Checkpoint Chat.
See you next week for 216. Wow, I can't believe how fast time's going. Unreal.
I can hate this man so much.
My goodness.
As always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting. There are so many games coming out. Maybe next week we'll talk about I don't know, Sonic. Who knows? Definitely Marvel Snap.
Oh my God, Marvel Snap for life.
Maybe some Bayonetta that we've been putting off. So yeah, look forward to those things. But that's going to be it for this week. Have a great week coming. And we will see you next time. Checkpoint Chat. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye. I love you. Bye.